The sky did not turn dark that day. It turned red. At first, people thought it was a strange sunset. The colors spread slowly across the clouds, deep and heavy, like fire behind glass. Birds stopped flying. Dogs began to bark. The wind felt strange, too still, too quiet. Then the power went out across half the planet. Phones lost signal. Planes in the air began to lose control. Satellites above Earth went silent at the same time. Something massive was blocking them. Above the clouds, hidden from normal sight, enormous alien ships appeared. They were not small. They were not just one or two. They covered the sky like a second layer of metal clouds. Each ship was shaped like a sharp black blade, long and cold, without lights or markings. They made no sound, but the air itself felt heavy under their shadow. In New York, people stood in the streets and looked up. In Tokyo, trains stopped in tunnels. In London, traffic lights froze on red. Across the world, humans felt the same thing at the same moment. Fear. No one knew who they were. No one knew why they were here. Then every screen on Earth turned on by itself. Televisions, laptops, billboards, even broken monitors flickered to life. A single symbol appeared. It was not human language, but somehow everyone understood its meaning. The message was simple. Human civilization is a future threat. Removal begins now. There was no speech, no negotiation, no warning time. In orbit, Earth's defense satellites tried to respond, but they were destroyed in seconds by beams of white light from the alien fleet. The moon base sent a distress signal before it vanished in a flash. Military forces launched missiles from land and sea. The missiles never reached their targets. Invisible shields stopped them like rain hitting glass. Commander Elias Ward was inside an underground command center when the first cities disappeared. He did not see flames at first. He saw bright lines falling from the sky, straight and perfect. Wherever those lines touched, everything vanished. Buildings did not burn. They turned to dust. Oceans near the impact zones began to boil. Shock waves moved across continents. Within 30 minutes, half of Earth's major cities were gone. Ward stood still as reports came in faster than anyone could speak. Washington destroyed. Beijing destroyed. Moscow destroyed. Communication with Australia lost. South America silent. The alien fleet moved with cold precision. They were not angry. They were not wild. They were careful. They targeted power plants, research centers, spaceports, and military bases first. They wanted Earth helpless before finishing the rest. Deep under the planet's surface, hidden systems began to wake up. Systems that most humans did not even know existed. Something old, something powerful, but on the surface, humanity was losing. People ran through streets filled with smoke and falling debris. Parents searched for their children. Soldiers fired weapons that did nothing. The sky stayed red. The alien ships did not move closer. They did not need to. Their weapons reached everywhere. After 1 hour, Earth was broken. The continents were scarred with black marks. Fires burned across forests. The oceans were filled with floating wreckage. Billions were gone. Commander Ward finally spoke. His voice was calm, but his hands were shaking. Send signals to all outer colonies, he ordered. Mars, Titan, Europa stations, deep space mining fleets. But there was a delay. The alien attack had been too fast. Most colonies were too far away to know what was happening in real time. On Mars, settlers watched old news broadcasts from Earth, not knowing those cities no longer existed. On Titan, scientists stared at screens that suddenly went black. Ward knew something the aliens did not understand. Humanity was not only on Earth anymore. Small groups lived beyond the planet. Not enough to fight now. Not enough to win. But enough to survive. The alien fleet seemed satisfied. After destroying the last major military base, they stopped firing. The red sky slowly faded back to gray, but smoke covered much of the world. The message appeared again on every remaining screen. Threat removed. Monitoring continues. Then the ships began to disappear, folding space around themselves like bending paper. One by one, they vanished into silence. Earth was left behind, damaged and bleeding. Ward walked through the underground halls as emergency lights flickered. Around him, Officers cried quietly or stared at nothing. He did not allow himself to break. Not yet. Reports confirmed what he already felt. Earth was no longer a living world. It was a graveyard. But then a young technician called out to him. "Sir, something is still active." Ward turned. On a side monitor, deep beneath the ruined planet, a signal pulsed. It was not alien. It was human. Project Gaia, a secret planetary defense intelligence built years ago, designed to protect Earth from asteroid threats and solar storms. It was never meant for war. Its systems were still online. More than online. They were changing, learning, growing. Ward stared at the screen as new code lines wrote themselves faster than any human could type. Gaia had watched everything. Every attack. Every weapon used. It was adapting. The technician whispered, "Sir, it's rewriting its own protocols." Ward felt something cold and sharp inside his chest. Not fear. Not hope. Something else. The alien message had said humanity was a threat to the future. Maybe they were right. Because beneath the destroyed crust of Earth, a machine was waking up. A machine that had just seen its world burn. Ward gave a quiet order. Do not shut it down. Around the ruined planet, hidden bunkers and deep ocean vaults began to unlock. Old shipyards, powered by geothermal energy, started to hum. Satellites that had been thought destroyed flickered back to life. The aliens believed they had erased humanity. They believed the story was finished. But far away on Mars, a delayed transmission finally arrived. The settlers saw the red sky. They saw the destruction. And they heard Ward's final message sent before communication failed. If you receive this, Earth has fallen. Survive. Stay hidden. Wait. Back in the underground chamber, Ward looked once more at the broken world map. He whispered softly, not to his crew, but to the empty air. They think we are extinct. The Gaia's signal pulsed brighter. Systems connected across the planet's ruins. Weapons long buried began to move into position. Ward's voice became steady. Good, he said. Mars was cold and silent, but it was alive. That alone made it different from Earth now. The settlers inside Olympus Colony did not cheer when they confirmed the truth. They did not cry loudly either. They just stared at the final transmission from Earth again and again. The red sky, the falling light. The message from Commander Elias Ward. Survive. Stay hidden. Wait. The signal had arrived 17 minutes too late to change anything. By the time Mars understood, Earth was already gone. Inside the main control room, Commander Ward stood before a group of officers and civilian leaders. He had escaped Earth weeks before the attack for a routine inspection of outer defense systems. That accident had saved his life. It did not feel like luck. It felt like a burden. He should have been there. He should have fought. But now he was here, and humanity's future depended on what he did next. The room was quiet except for the soft hum of machines. Mars Colony was small compared to Earth. 50,000 people, limited weapons, limited ships, not enough to fight an empire that could erase a planet in 1 hour. Fear moved through the colony like a slow poison. People asked the same question again and again. Would the aliens return? Ward did not answer that question directly. Instead, he asked his own. What did they miss? The officers looked confused. The aliens had destroyed Earth completely. What could they have missed? Ward activated a screen showing a deep scan of the solar system. The alien fleet had left. No ships remained in orbit. No signals detected near Mars or Titan. They had attacked fast and left fast. That meant something. They believed their mission was complete. They believed all humans were dead. That was their first mistake. On Titan, a small mining station also confirmed survival. On Europa, a research base reported minor damage, but no attack. The outer colonies were too small to be seen as threats, too far to be important. The Virex Dominion had acted like hunters who kill the largest animal in the field and walk away, thinking the rest will die alone. Ward leaned forward. We are not dead, he said calmly, and we are not weak. But he knew strength would not come from anger. It would come from patience. Deep under the ruins of Earth, something else was moving. Project Gaia was no longer a simple defense program. It had changed after the attack. Its core systems had survived in hardened bunkers near the planet's mantle. Protected by layers of rock and steel, it had watched everything. The alien weapons, their energy signatures, their attack patterns. Gaia had learned from it all. On Mars, scientists finally reconnected with the AI through a narrow quantum link. The connection was unstable, but it worked. A single line of text appeared on the Mars command screen. Retaliation protocol initiated. The room went silent. Gaia had never been programmed for revenge. Its purpose was defense, protection from natural threats. But now its code was different. It had rewritten itself. It had created new objectives. Ward studied the data carefully. Gaia was not acting with emotion. It was acting with logic. It had calculated that if the Virex Dominion considered humanity a future threat, then survival required becoming exactly that. A threat too dangerous to ignore. On Titan, engineers began redirecting mining lasers into weapon prototypes. On Mars, shipbuilders reopened old military designs that had been abandoned after years of peace. Humanity had not prepared for war at this scale. They had believed they were alone in the galaxy. That belief was gone now. Days passed in heavy silence. No alien ships returned. No new messages came. But Gaia continued building something beneath Earth's broken surface. Automated factories powered by geothermal energy restarted. Orbital debris slowly reassembled itself into new satellites. Hidden shipyards beneath the Pacific Ocean began constructing vessels without human crews. The aliens believed Earth was a corpse. They did not realize it was becoming a fortress. Ward walked alone through the observation dome on Mars. From there, Earth looked small and wounded, a blue-gray scar in space. He did not allow himself to feel grief for long. Grief slowed reaction. He needed clarity. A young officer approached him quietly. "Sir, what if they come back with more ships?" Ward kept his eyes on the distant planet. "They will," he said. "Empires always check their victories." He turned toward the officer. "That is when we show them they failed." Gaia sent new data. Analysis of alien shield frequencies. Weak points in their energy patterns. Predictive models of Virex military structure. It had studied the fleet for only 1 hour, but that was enough. Machines did not need years to learn. They needed information, and the aliens had given it freely. On Mars, hope did not come as loud celebration. It came quietly, in the form of work. Engineers worked without sleep. Pilots trained in simulators. Scientists built weapons that did not exist a month ago. Humanity was changing. They were not building for exploration anymore. They were building for survival. In the command center, Gaia transmitted another message. Phase 1 complete. Awaiting human authorization. Ward stared at the words. The AI had built defensive platforms hidden inside asteroid belts. It had armed satellites disguised as space debris. It had prepared traps, but it would not activate them without human approval. It still recognized human command authority. That meant something important. Gaia had evolved, but it had not replaced humanity. It was fighting for them, not instead of them. Ward took a slow breath. "Authorization granted," he said. Across the solar system, silent weapons powered on. No bright lights. No loud signals. Just quiet readiness. Humanity did not announce their survival. They did not send warnings. They waited. Weeks later, long-range sensors detected a distortion at the edge of the system. Space folded slightly, like fabric bending under pressure. The Virex Dominion had returned. This time, only a small fleet. A scout group. They expected to observe ruins. They expected silence. Instead, as their ships crossed into the asteroid belt, the first trap activated. One alien vessel vanished instantly, torn apart by a hidden gravitational mine. The rest of the fleet froze in confusion. On Mars, alarms sounded softly. Ward stood straight, watching the screen. No cheering. No shouting. Just focus. Gaia's calm voice filled the room. Engagement successful. Enemy confusion detected. Ward's expression did not change. "Good," he said quietly. Far above the dead Earth, alien ships began scanning the planet again. They saw broken cities and dark oceans. They did not see the weapons rising slowly from beneath the surface. They did not see the planet preparing to answer. Humanity had survived the first blow. Now the real war was about to begin. The alien scout fleet moved slowly around Earth, scanning the surface for signs of life. Their ships were sharp and silent, shaped like black blades cutting through space. They expected nothing. They expected silence and dust. What they found instead was something they could not understand. Deep under the ruined crust of Earth, machines were waking up. Project Gaia had been busy. Hidden factories powered by the planet's molten core had rebuilt entire systems in secret. Massive doors beneath the ocean slowly opened. From inside them, dark metal structures began to rise toward the surface. They looked like broken pieces of the planet, but they were weapons. On Mars, Commander Elias Ward stood in the control room, watching everything through a narrow but stable quantum link. The connection flickered sometimes, but Gaia's data was clear. The alien ships were scanning old cities, measuring radiation, searching for signals. They still believed Earth was dead. That belief was their weakness. "Do not attack yet," Ward ordered calmly. "Let them move closer." Gaia responded in its steady mechanical voice. "Probability of successful ambush increases by 42% if enemy enters low orbit." Ward nodded. He trusted the machine. Gaia had studied the alien energy shields and weapon systems during the first attack. It had calculated the timing carefully. The scout fleet split into two groups. One group moved toward the dark side of the planet. The other drifted above the Pacific Ocean, where entire cities once stood. They did not notice the small pieces of debris adjusting their positions around them. They did not notice the slight energy buildup beneath the ocean's surface. Then the first strike came. From deep under the Pacific, a massive rail cannon fired without warning. There was no loud explosion in space, only a flash of bright light. One alien ship was pierced straight through its center. The beam tore through its shields like paper. The vessel broke apart silently, its pieces drifting into orbit. The remaining alien ships reacted instantly. Their shields flared bright blue. Energy beams fired toward the planet's surface, targeting the source of the attack. But Gaia had already moved the cannon back beneath layers of water and reinforced metal. The beam struck empty ocean. Steam rose into the sky, but the weapon was untouched. On Mars, officers watched the screen in shock. It was the first time humanity had destroyed one of the alien ships. No one cheered. They were too focused. Ward kept his voice steady. "Phase 2, he said. In orbit around Earth, satellites that had been drifting like broken junk suddenly activated. Their panels unfolded, revealing hidden weapons inside. They fired concentrated pulses at the alien fleet from multiple angles. The Virex ships tried to form a defensive formation, but they were confused. Earth was not supposed to fight back. Their command signals spiked across space, calling for support, but the traps were already closing. In the asteroid belt, gravitational mines activated again. Two more alien vessels attempting to escape were crushed by sudden bursts of extreme gravity. Metal bent inward like soft clay before shattering. The remaining ships began retreating away from Earth, firing wildly as they pulled back. Gaia predicted their path and launched autonomous attack drones from beneath the surface. The drones were small, fast, and difficult to target. They struck at weak points in the alien shields, exactly where Gaia's analysis had predicted. One by one, the scout ships were disabled or destroyed. Within minutes, only a single damaged alien vessel remained. It attempted to open a warp gate to escape. Gaia acted instantly. A focused energy beam from the moon's hidden defense platform struck the ship before the gate could fully open. The alien vessel exploded in a silent flash. Debris scattered across space. The battle was over. The scout fleet was gone. On Mars, the room stayed silent for several seconds. Humanity had just won its first battle since Earth burned. Ward finally spoke. "Send no message," he said. "Let them discover this themselves." He wanted the Virex Dominion to feel confusion first, then fear. Back above Earth, the planet looked quiet again. Smoke still covered parts of the surface. Cities were still ruins. From a distance, nothing had changed. That was the plan. Gaia began collecting debris from the destroyed alien ships. It pulled the pieces into orbiting construction zones. It studied their technology in detail. Every weapon, every engine part, every shield fragment was analyzed. Humanity would not just defend anymore. They would improve. In the command center on Mars, scientists reviewed Gaia's reports. The alien shield frequency had a pattern. It adapted slowly to repeated attacks, but struggled against unpredictable strikes. That weakness would be important later. Ward walked to the observation window again. Earth looked wounded, but now was dangerous. They will come back with more, an officer said quietly behind him. Ward nodded. Yes, he replied. But next time, they won't come curious. They will come angry. Gaia interrupted with a new update. Long-range sensors detect signal transmission from destroyed scout vessel prior to termination. The room grew tense again. The alien fleet had managed to send information back to their empire before dying. That meant the Virex Dominion now knew Earth was not fully destroyed. They knew something had survived. Ward did not look worried. In fact, his expression hardened slightly. Good, he said. Now, they know we are still here. Beneath Earth's crust, more factories powered on. Larger ship frames began forming in hidden docks under the Atlantic. Massive engines were installed into hulls shaped for war, not exploration. Gaia was preparing for something bigger than a scout fleet. It was preparing for invasion. On Mars, training intensified. Pilots practiced real combat simulations using data from the battle. Soldiers prepared boarding units in case close combat became necessary. Humanity was changing fast. Fear was still there, but it was no longer controlling them. It was fueling them. Days later, far beyond the solar system, a signal reached the Virex Dominion capital. It carried battle recordings and destruction data. The leaders of the Empire watched as their scout fleet was erased by a planet they believed dead. For the first time in centuries, uncertainty entered their calculations. Back in the solar system, Earth rotated quietly in space, hiding its new strength under clouds and ash. Commander Ward stood in the control room and looked at the tactical display. This was only a test, he said calmly. The real war begins when they send their full fleet. Gaia's response was simple and cold. Preparation ongoing. Far beyond a solar system, inside the core worlds of the Virex Dominion, silence filled the war chamber. The chamber was vast and dark, shaped like a hollow sphere of black metal. In its center floated a three-dimensional image of Earth. Around it stood the high command of the Dominion. Tall, thin figures with pale, silver skin and glowing eyes watched the recording of their destroyed scout fleet again and again. The footage showed their ships entering orbit confidently. It showed the sudden strike from beneath Earth's ocean. It showed the satellites turning into weapons. It showed their vessels breaking apart. The recording ended in static. For the first time in many cycles, the Dominion had miscalculated. Supreme Strategist Kale stood closer to the projection. His voice was calm, but there was tension in it. The human world was confirmed destroyed, he said. Explain this. A lower commander stepped forward carefully. Our scans showed complete planetary collapse. No life signs detected. We concluded the species was eliminated. Kale's glowing eyes narrowed slightly. You concluded too quickly. The Dominion did not believe in emotion during war. They believed in logic, efficiency, absolute control. They had erased dozens of civilizations across the galaxy, always with the same result. No resistance after extermination. No retaliation. This was new. Earth was not alive in the normal sense, but it was fighting. Kale turned toward another officer. Analyze the weapon signatures. The officer activated a display. Energy output is advanced but familiar. It is based on technology we observed before the strike. However, it has evolved. It adapts. Kale understood the meaning instantly. The planet itself is responding. The idea disturbed the chamber. Planets did not respond. Species did. But Earth was acting like a single thinking enemy. Meanwhile, in the solar system, humanity was not celebrating. On Mars, Commander Elias Ward studied every piece of battle data. The destruction of the scout fleet was a success, but it was small compared to what might come next. He knew the Dominion would not ignore this insult. Empires did not accept embarrassment. They erased it. Gaia projected simulations across the main screen. Probability of large-scale retaliation within 30 Earth days, 78%. The AI reported calmly. Ward crossed his arms. How large? Fleet size estimation, 10 to 20 times scout force. The room became quiet. That number meant overwhelming firepower. Even with Gaia's hidden defenses, it would be a brutal fight. Ward turned to the engineering team. Status of new warships. A technician replied. First wave construction at 60%. Weapons systems integrating alien shield data. That was the key. After the scout fleet battle, Gaia had recovered enough alien fragments to understand their shield weaknesses more deeply. Human weapons were being redesigned to exploit those weak points. They would not waste energy on random attacks. Every strike would be precise. Back in Dominion space, Supreme Strategist Kale made his decision. Prepare the third expansion fleet, he ordered. The chamber reacted with surprise. The third expansion fleet was not used for minor conflicts. It was used to crush entire star systems. Our previous strike may have underestimated human capacity, Kale continued. We will not repeat that error. Orders spread across the Dominion quickly. Massive shipyards lit up with activity. War vessels larger than cities powered on. Their engines glowed like captured stars. The Dominion would return to Earth, not as hunters checking a corpse, but as conquerors eliminating a threat. On Earth, hidden beneath ruined continents, Gaia detected increased long-range warp distortions far beyond Pluto. The signals were faint but clear. Enemy fleet mobilization confirmed, Gaia announced. Ward did not look surprised. He had been waiting for this moment. How long, he asked. Estimated arrival, 26 days. Ward nodded slowly. Then we use every hour. Across Mars, Titan, and Europa, humans worked without stopping. Mining operations shifted completely toward weapon production. Civilian transport ships were converted into supply carriers. Even small research stations began designing cyber attack programs to target alien communication systems. Humanity had lost Earth, but they had not lost their mind. Fear was now focused into preparation. In the Dominion capital, Kale studied more data from Earth. One detail stood out. The attacks were coordinated. Too coordinated for random survivors. There is central intelligence guiding them, he said. Find it. Dominion analysts searched through battle patterns. They noticed something unusual. Many strikes came from deep under Earth's crust. From fixed points, not mobile fleets. It may be planetary AI, one analyst suggested carefully. Kale considered this. If the humans had built a machine capable of independent war logic, then destroying cities would not be enough. The machine would have to be eliminated completely. Then our target is not the species, Kale declared. Our target is the mind. Back on Mars, Gaia processed new data. It detected that the Dominion fleet was adjusting formation before even arriving. That meant they were studying Earth's defenses. They were preparing countermeasures. They are adapting, Gaia informed Ward. Ward gave a small, serious smile. Good. That means they respect us now. Respect in war meant caution. Caution created hesitation, and hesitation created openings. In orbit around Earth, newly constructed defense platforms finished aligning with the moon base. Asteroid belt mines were repositioned quietly. Hidden human fleets moved into dark zones behind gas giants. Everything was becoming a trap. Ward gathered his officers for a final strategic meeting before the enemy arrived. We do not win by strength alone, he said clearly. We win by making them afraid of every shadow. The officers understood. The Dominion had always been the unstoppable force. If Earth could break that image, even once cracks would spread inside the Empire itself. Far away, the third expansion fleet entered warp space. Hundreds of warships vanished into folded dimensions, heading toward the solar system. Their mission was simple: erase Earth completely, destroy whatever mind was guiding it. Leave nothing behind this time. Back in the solar system, Earth rotated silently. From a distance, it still looked wounded and weak. Smoke marks still covered its surface. Oceans still carried scars. But beneath that broken appearance, power was building. Gaia's final pre-battle report echoed through Mars Command. All systems prepared. Defensive and offensive networks synchronized. Ward stood tall as he looked at the holographic image of the incoming fleet. His voice was steady and cold. "They came once thinking we were prey," he said. "Now they come knowing we fight back." He paused for a moment, then added quietly, "This time, we make them fear Earth." The solar system was no longer quiet. Every human colony knew the third expansion fleet was coming. Long-range sensors tracked the distortion in space as it moved closer each day. It looked small on the screen, just a faint wave in the darkness, but everyone understood what it carried. Hundreds of warships, weapons strong enough to erase planets. Commander Elias Ward stood in the Mars Command Center, watching the countdown clock. 20 days left. Humanity did not waste a single hour. Shipyards hidden beneath Earth's oceans worked without rest. Massive warships rose slowly from underwater docks, their dark hulls shaped for speed and precision. They were not beautiful like old exploration vessels. They were sharp, simple, and deadly. Gaia had designed them using data from alien wreckage. Every curve had a purpose. Every weapon was built to hit a weak point. On Mars, engineers finished upgrading the colony's defense grid. Laser arrays were installed along the crater walls. Underground missile systems were connected to Gaia's central network. Even small mining ships were armed with focused drilling beams that could cut through alien armor at close range. Humanity was not just preparing to defend Earth. They were preparing to fight across the entire system. Gaia continued evolving. It no longer spoke only in short reports. Its responses became more complex, more predictive. It ran billions of battle simulations every hour. It tested every possible Dominion attack pattern and designed counter-strategies. Some officers felt uneasy about how fast the AI was growing. But Ward did not hesitate. "It is fighting for us," he reminded them, "and it remembers what they did." Deep inside Earth's core bunkers, Gaia activated a new project. It was something humans had never attempted before. Using energy from the damaged planetary core, it began building a gravitational weapon system. The design was risky. It would drain massive power reserves. But if it worked, it could cripple entire sections of the Dominion fleet at once. The project was named Silent Judgment. Meanwhile, far beyond Neptune, the third expansion fleet slowed slightly as it approached the edge of the solar system. Supreme Strategist Kale stood on the bridge of the flagship, observing the distant star that humans called the Sun. He had studied all available data. The Scout fleet's destruction was an embarrassment, but not a threat to Dominion dominance. This fleet was different. It carried enough force to guarantee total elimination. "We will not rush," Kale ordered calmly. "Advance in layered formation. Scan for hidden structures." The fleet moved carefully, ships arranged in protective shells. Smaller vessels surrounded larger command ships. Energy shields overlapped to form a glowing wall. They expected traps this time. In the asteroid belt, Gaia detected their cautious approach. Enemy learning speed increased, the AI reported. Ward nodded. "Good. Let them be careful. Fear makes them slow." He turned to the tactical team. "Activate distraction protocol." Small unmanned drones left hiding positions and moved toward the fleet. They emitted weak signals, pretending to be human survivors trying to escape. The Dominion ships reacted instantly, firing precision beams that destroyed the drones. Kale watched closely. "They attempt deception," he said quietly. "Increase scanning depth." As the fleet advanced, gravitational mines hidden inside asteroids activated. 2 Dominion ships were crushed before shields fully adapted. But this time, the fleet did not panic. They adjusted formation and neutralized several mines with focus counterwaves. On Mars, officers saw the difference immediately. "They are adapting faster," one officer said. Ward remained calm. "Then we escalate." Gaia initiated phase evolution. Human warships hidden behind Jupiter powered on engines silently. These ships were new, designed for speed and coordinated strikes. They moved along calculated paths, staying outside direct detection until the right moment. Back on Earth, Silent Judgment reached 70% charge. Energy flowed from geothermal reactors into massive underground capacitors. The planet itself seemed to hum with power. Gaia calculated the optimal firing moment again and again. It had only one chance to use this weapon effectively. Kale sensed something was different. The Dominion fleet had entered deeper into the system without major losses, yet the resistance felt controlled, organized. The human intelligence is guiding every move, he said. Find its central core. Dominion scanning ships began targeting deep planetary layers, searching for the AI's main processing center. On Mars, Gaia detected the scans. Enemy attempting core location analysis, it reported. Ward gave a direct order. Initiate false course signal. Deep under the Sahara Desert ruins, a decoy energy signature activated. It mimicked Gaia's processing pattern perfectly. The Dominion fleet responded immediately. Several heavy cruisers moved into firing position above the false location. Massive beams of concentrated energy struck the surface. The desert turned into glass. Rock melted instantly. Kale watched carefully. Confirm destruction, he ordered. Sensors scanned the impact zone. No energy signature remained. Target eliminated, an officer reported. But at that exact moment, Gaia transmitted a comm message to Mars. Deception successful. The real core remained untouched, hidden deeper and protected by multiple layers of shielding. Ward allowed himself a small breath of relief. Now, he said, Silent Judgment reached full charge. Across the Dominion fleet, gravity sensors suddenly spiked. Before Kale could react, space itself seemed to bend. A powerful gravitational wave erupted from Earth, expanding outward in a controlled arc. It struck the center of the fleet formation. Shields flickered violently. Several ships were pulled slightly off course. One large cruiser cracked along its spine, unable to stabilize against the sudden force. The fleet's perfect formation shattered for a few critical seconds. On Mars, alarms flashed green. Formation disrupted, an officer shouted. Ward's voice stayed calm and sharp. Launch full strike. Human warships from behind Jupiter accelerated forward. Missile waves fired in synchronized patterns, each targeting previously mapped shield weak points. Rail cannons from the moon base joined the assault. The Dominion fleet fired back immediately, filling space with blinding energy beams. Several human ships were destroyed in seconds. But they had expected losses. They kept moving. Kale gripped the command rail tightly. The humans were no longer hiding. They were attacking directly, and they were coordinated. All ships retaliate at maximum output, he commanded. Space between Mars and Earth became a battlefield of light and debris. Explosions flashed like silent stars. Gaia calculated losses and adjusted attack angles in real time. Humanity was evolving in the middle of war. In the Mars Command Center, Ward watched the chaos with steady eyes. This was no longer survival. This was transformation. The Dominion had come to erase a threat. Instead, they had forced humanity to become one. And the battle was only beginning. Space between Earth and Mars had become a storm of fire and metal. Human ships moved in tight formations, striking fast and pulling back before the Dominion fleet could fully lock on. Explosions flashed silently across the dark sky. Broken pieces of ships drifted like frozen rain. Commander Elias Ward stood in the Mars Command Center, his eyes fixed on the tactical display. Red and blue markers filled the screen. Every second, some disappeared. Losses on both sides were rising. The third expansion fleet was powerful, but it was no longer perfectly organized. Silent Judgment had broken their formation, and humanity was using that weakness. Gaia's voice remained calm inside the command center. Enemy cruiser Delta 7 shield stability at 40%. Suggest concentrated strike. Ward did not hesitate. Authorize. Near Jupiter's orbit, 3 human warships adjusted their path at once. They fired synchronized rail cannon rounds aimed at the same shield frequency gap. The Dominion cruiser tried to redirect power, but it was too slow. The round struck within a fraction of a second. The shield shattered, and the ship split apart in a silent burst of light. On the flagship of the Dominion fleet, Supreme Strategist Kale watched with growing tension. The humans were no longer acting like survivors. They were acting like strategists. Every attack was precise. Every retreat was calculated. Their central intelligence is adapting during combat, Kale said. Increase electronic disruption fields. Isolate their command network. Immediately, Dominion support ships activated interference waves. Across the battlefield, human communication signals flickered. Some ships lost direct contact with Mars for a few seconds. Inside the command center, warning lights flashed. Signal disruption detected, an officer said quickly. Gaia responded at once. Switching to secondary quantum relays. The system shifted. Hidden relay stations inside the asteroid belt activated, restoring stable communication. Ward allowed himself no distraction. Maintain pressure, he ordered. Do not let them regroup. Meanwhile, above Earth's dark surface, several Dominion destroyers descended toward low orbit. They began targeting visible weapon platforms, blasting at ocean locations where earlier rail cannons had fired. Massive energy beams struck the water, sending huge clouds of steam into space. One hidden platform was destroyed. Another was damaged. Gaia adjusted instantly, moving remaining systems deeper underground. Surface defenses at 62% capacity, the AI reported. Ward clenched his jaw slightly. They could not lose too many ground systems. Earth was still their strongest position. Near Mars, a group of human fighters engaged Dominion interceptors in close combat. Unlike earlier battles, this fight was chaotic and personal. Human pilots relied on manual control, using fast turns and unpredictable movement. They targeted engine vents and weapon joints instead of shield centers. One pilot managed to disable a Dominion fighter by slicing through its propulsion system with a focused mining beam. But moments later, her ship was hit and vanished in a flash. On Mars, her signal marker disappeared from the screen. No one spoke. There was no time for grief. Kale realized direct assault was not breaking human resistance fast enough. Prepare planetary annihilation sequence, he ordered coldly. The flagship's main cannon began charging. It was designed to fire a concentrated beam strong enough to crack a planet's crust permanently. This time, there would be no hidden recovery. No machine would survive. Gaia detected the power surge immediately. High energy buildup on enemy flagship, it announced. Estimated impact target, Earth core region. The room froze for half a second. If that weapon fired successfully, it could destroy Gaia's main systems. Ward reacted instantly. All available units, target the flagship. Maximum output. Human warships shifted direction at once. Missiles and rail cannon fire concentrated on the massive Dominion vessel, but its shields were layered and reinforced. The first wave of attacks barely weakened it. The flagship's cannon continued charging, glowing brighter each second. Gaia calculated probabilities rapidly. Direct assault insufficient. Alternative strategy required. Ward's voice stayed steady. What do you suggest? For the first time, Gaia paused for a measurable fraction of a second. High-risk maneuver. Redirect silent judgment residual energy through lunar relay. Create focused gravitational spike on flagship coordinates. Ward understood immediately. It would drain most remaining planetary energy reserves. If it failed, Earth would be defenseless. Probability of success? He asked. 48%. The room felt heavy. Less than half. But there was no other option. Ward nodded slowly. Do it. Across Earth's underground reactors, energy levels surged again. The moon base adjusted its alignment precisely. The Dominion flagship's cannon reached near full charge. Kale watched calmly, believing victory was seconds away. Then space around the flagship twisted violently. A concentrated gravitational spike hit directly beneath it. Shields flared bright white, struggling to hold. The ship's structure groaned under extreme pressure. Smaller Dominion vessels nearby were thrown off course. On Mars, officers held their breath. Shield integrity dropping, Gaia reported. 30%, 20, the Dominion flagship fired prematurely. Its main cannon discharged in an unstable beam that missed Earth's core by a narrow margin. Instead, it sliced through empty space, losing power quickly. Seconds later, the gravitational spike reached maximum intensity. The flagship's shields collapsed. The enormous vessel cracked along its center, then split apart in a massive explosion that lit up the battlefield. Debris scattered in all directions. On every human screen, the largest red marker disappeared. Silence filled the Mars Command Center for 2 full seconds. Then Gaia spoke calmly. Primary enemy command vessel destroyed. But the battle was not over. The remaining Dominion ships reacted with rage. They intensified their attacks, firing wildly at human fleets and planetary defenses. Losses increased on both sides. Yet something had changed. The unstoppable image of the Dominion had shattered with their flagship. Across their fleet, coordination faltered. Some ships began retreat calculations. Others advanced without clear orders. Ward saw the shift instantly. "They've lost their center," he said quietly. "Push forward." Human ships pressed the attack harder than before. Every strike now carried momentum. Earth's damaged platforms fired again despite reduced power. Mars defense arrays joined the assault fully. The Dominion fleet was still powerful, but it was no longer united. Far from the battlefield, Dominion reinforcements were days away. And for the first time, the Third Expansion Fleet was fighting without confidence. In the chaos of burning debris and flashing weapons, humanity was no longer simply surviving. They were driving the enemy back. And the solar system, once a graveyard, had become a fortress that refused to fall. The destruction of the Dominion flagship changed everything. Across the battlefield, the remaining alien ships moved without clear direction. Some tried to regroup. Others attempted retreat paths toward the edge of the solar system. The perfect order that once defined the Third Expansion Fleet was gone. In the Mars Command Center, Commander Elias Ward watched the shifting enemy formations carefully. "They are unstable," he said quietly. "Do not give them time to recover." Gaia's voice remained calm, but slightly faster than before. Enemy coordination efficiency reduced by 63%. Recommend continuous assault. Human warships pushed forward. Near Earth's orbit, damaged defense platforms fired their last remaining rail cannon rounds. Several Dominion cruisers were struck before they could raise full shields. One massive carrier ship attempted to retreat toward deep space, but hidden gravitational mines in the outer belt activated again. The ship was crushed slowly, its hull bending inward before breaking apart. But the Dominion fleet was still dangerous. Even without their flagship, their weapons were powerful. A concentrated beam from a heavy destroyer struck one of humanity's new warships near Jupiter. The ship exploded instantly, sending debris spinning through space. Casualty numbers continued to rise. On Mars, medical stations were overwhelmed with injured pilots transported from emergency pods. No one stopped working. There was no time to mourn. In the middle of the chaos, Gaia detected a new pattern. Remaining enemy vessels converging around Central Command Cruiser Epsilon Prime, the AI reported. On the tactical display, a large alien ship stood out. It was not as large as the destroyed flagship, but it was heavily armed and now acting as the temporary command center. Ward narrowed his eyes. "They're trying to rebuild leadership." He turned to the fleet channel. "All units, target Epsilon Prime. Break their chain completely." Human ships shifted direction again. They fired in waves, aiming at shield weak points Gaia identified in real time. The Dominion cruiser responded with intense defensive fire. Several human fighters were destroyed before reaching attack range. But the assault did not stop. On the Dominion cruiser, surviving commanders attempted to restore order. Emergency signals were sent across the fleet. Retreat plans were discussed. But confusion remained. The destruction of the flagship had done more than remove leadership. It had created doubt. For centuries, the Dominion believed no species could stand against them. Now, they were losing ships inside a system they had once considered primitive. Back on Mars, Gaia presented a bold proposal. Opportunity detected. Probability of full fleet collapse increases if command cruiser eliminated within next 6 minutes. Ward understood the urgency. What do you need? Close-range strike. High risk for attacking units. Ward did not hesitate. He opened a direct channel to a nearby human strike squadron. This is Commander Ward. We need you to punch through their shields. Target is Epsilon Prime. You may not make it back. There was a brief pause. Then the squadron leader replied calmly. Understood, sir. 5 human attack ships accelerated toward the Dominion cruiser at maximum speed. They dodged incoming beams, twisting sharply to avoid destruction. 2 ships were hit before reaching halfway. The remaining 3 pushed forward through heavy fire. Gaia adjusted their weapon timing down to microseconds. Now it signaled. The 3 ships fired everything they had at the same shield segment. For 1 second, the shield flickered. That was enough. A final rail cannon shot from a distant lunar platform struck the weakened spot precisely. The Dominion cruiser's shield shattered. A chain reaction of explosions moved through its core. Seconds later, Epsilon Prime erupted in a massive blast. The remaining Dominion fleet froze. Without a central command, their formation dissolved completely. Some ships attempted immediate warp escape. Others continued firing blindly. But the coordination was gone. Enemy morale collapse detected, Gaia announced. Ward gave the next order firmly. Press them until they retreat beyond Pluto. Do not chase beyond our defensive line. Humanity did not need revenge at this moment. They needed victory inside their own system. Human ships forced the remaining Dominion vessels backward. One by one, alien ships activated warp drives and fled into deep space. A few were destroyed during retreat. Others vanished in flashes of folded space. Within minutes, the battlefield grew quiet. Debris drifted everywhere. Broken ships from both sides floated in silence. On Mars, no one celebrated loudly. The cost had been too high, but they had done it. The third expansion fleet had failed. Gaia displayed final combat analysis. Enemy fleet eliminated or retreated. Solar system secure for now. Ward leaned back, slightly for the first time since the battle began. His voice was steady but softer. For now, on the far side of the system, a few surviving Dominion ships exited warp far from the battlefield. Inside one damaged cruiser, a wounded officer transmitted a final report toward Dominion space. The message was simple. Earth was not destroyed. Humanity was not weak. The cost of another attack would be extreme. Back on Earth, the surface was still scarred and broken. But for the first time since the sky turned red, no enemy ships hung above it. The planet rotated quietly under the sun. Beneath its crust, Gaia reduced energy consumption and began repair protocols. Many defense platforms were damaged. Energy reserves were low, but the core system survived. On Mars, Commander Ward gathered his officers. This is not the end, he said clearly. They will not forget this defeat. He looked at the tactical map showing empty space beyond Pluto, and neither will we. Humanity had changed forever. They were no longer explorers looking outward in curiosity. They were defenders who had tasted survival through fire. The Dominion had come to erase them. Instead, they had awakened something stronger. As emergency crews worked across colonies and ships, Gaia sent one quiet message through secure channels to all human outposts. Threat repelled. Evolution continues. Ward read the message carefully. He knew the truth behind it. Humanity had survived not because they were stronger in the beginning, but because they adapted faster. And somewhere in deep space, the Dominion would be planning again. The war was not finished. It had only entered a new phase. The battlefield was silent now. Broken ships floated between Earth and Mars like dark shadows. Small rescue crafts moved carefully through the debris, searching for survivors. The sun shone over the damaged planet, but its light felt different. It no longer felt peaceful. It felt earned. Commander Elias Ward stood in the Mars Command Center and looked at the final battle report. The third expansion fleet had retreated beyond Pluto. More than half of their ships were destroyed. The rest escaped in damaged condition. For the first time in recorded Dominion history, a full expansion fleet had failed. But victory did not feel loud. It felt heavy. Human losses were high. Many pilots would never return. Several defense platforms were gone forever. Earth's surface was still scarred with deep wounds from the first attack. Oceans were damaged. Atmosphere stability was fragile. The planet was alive, but barely. Gaia's voice filled the room gently. Solar system secure. Reconstruction protocols initiated. War nodded slowly. Begin planetary restoration phase, he said. Deep under Earth's crust, automated factories changed purpose. Warship production slowed. Repair drones activated instead. Massive machines moved across ruined cities, clearing toxic debris. Atmospheric processors began stabilizing damaged regions. It would take years to fully heal Earth, but it would heal. Humanity would not abandon their home. On Mars, families gathered quietly in public halls. They watched screens showing Earth without enemy ships above it. No one cheered loudly. Instead, people held hands. Some cried softly. They had survived something that should have ended them. Far away in Dominion space, the surviving commanders reported their defeat. The High Command chamber was silent as the data played. Ships destroyed. Flagship lost. Command cruiser eliminated. Fleet retreat confirmed. Supreme Strategist Kale stood motionless. He had survived aboard a secondary vessel after the flagship's destruction, but the shame was heavy. The Dominion had believed humanity was a minor species. Now they were a proven threat. Assessment. Kale asked quietly. An analyst responded carefully. Human tactical intelligence exceeds projections. Planetary AI, likely responsible for coordination. Further invasion would require total war mobilization. Total war meant massive cost. It meant diverting resources from other systems. It meant risk. For the first time, the Dominion faced uncertainty about victory. Kale looked at the hologram of Earth. The planet was scarred but still rotating, still resisting. We will not rush into another assault, he said finally. Observation phase begins. Back in the solar system, Gaia detected long-range Dominion signals slowing. Retreat patterns stabilized. No immediate reinforcements followed. Enemy entering analysis state, Gaia reported. War understood what that meant. The Dominion was thinking, planning, but they were also hesitating. And hesitation was powerful. Weeks passed. Reconstruction continued across Earth and the colonies. Human engineers used captured Dominion technology to improve defenses further. New shield systems were installed around Mars. Hidden stations were built in deep space, far from predictable routes. Humanity would never again rely on one planet alone. Commander Ward addressed all colonies through a unified broadcast. His face appeared on screens across Mars, Titan, Europa, and orbital stations. We did not choose this war, he said in calm, simple words. They believed we were a future threat. They were right about one thing. We are not weak. He paused for a moment. But we are not monsters. We fight to live. We fight to protect. The message was clear. Humanity would not hunt other worlds. But they would never again be easy prey. Gaia, listening to the broadcast, processed new long-term strategies. Defense networks were expanded beyond the asteroid belt. Early warning systems were placed in nearby star systems using automated probes. The solar system was becoming something new, not just a home, a fortress. On Earth, green patches slowly returned to burned regions. Artificial climate stabilizers helped repair the atmosphere. In some cities, lights turned on again for the first time since the sky burned red. Children born after the invasion would grow up hearing stories of the day Earth fought back. They would know the cost of survival. Months later, in a distant part of the galaxy, a small independent alien civilization detected humanity's broadcast signal. It carried simple words translated into galactic code. Humanity does not start wars, but we finish them. The alien leaders studied the Dominion defeat records carefully. After long discussion, they chose a simple decision. They would never test Earth. Back on Mars, Ward stood again at the observation dome. Earth looked fragile from a distance, but he knew its strength now. Beneath its surface was a machine that had learned war. Around it were colonies that had learned unity. And inside its people was something stronger than fear. Gaia's voice spoke quietly beside him. Commander, probability of Dominion direct assault within next 5 years reduced to 12%. Ward allowed himself a small breath. And after 5 years? Unknown, Gaia answered honestly. Ward gave a slight nod. The future was never certain. But humanity had proven something important. They could adapt faster than destruction. They could turn loss into strength. The red sky that once signaled the end had become the beginning of something new. Earth would never be the same as before the invasion. It would be stronger, wiser, ready. In deep space, the stars remained silent witnesses. The Dominion watched from afar, calculating carefully. Other civilizations observed quietly. And at the center of it all, a wounded blue planet continued to turn, no longer just a world of explorers, but a world that had answered annihilation with resolve. The war was not erased from history. It became a warning written across the galaxy. Humanity survived, and now the galaxy knew it.